Alright folks, this is my quick and dirty review of the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie. It's finally out in theaters. Today's March 31st, 2013. I did watch the movie yesterday, March 30th, at the Power Plant Mall in Rockwell here in Manila. And for those of you outside the Philippines, it'll only take a minute. But for those of you watching it in Power Plant Mall in Rockwell, is a word of caution. Their 3D glasses suck. I had to exchange my 3D glasses twice just to get the right one that didn't have any blurred or doubling images in the background and foreground. It was crap. I've already made a complaint to the theater manager, and if you're watching in Rockwell in Power Plant Mall, make sure the 3D glasses are okay. Make sure there's no doubling of the image in the foreground and blurring at the background. Just the central image was okay, but the ones in the sides were blurring and doubling. It was horrible. They were asking top dollar for their movie tickets, but for them to have that kind of 3D glasses was horrible. There's no excuse for that. So just word of caution for those of you watching in Power Plant Mall. I love the movie. It was a very, very good. It's a great action film, and it was what was I going to say? It was a collector. It was a G.I. Joe fan pleaser. These are the figures I intend to review from the movie. I'm not going to do them now since there's a lot of them. I will be posting the reviews of these figures on my fxfranz channel, so make sure you're subscribed to that channel. Okay, on to the movie. Let me talk about the things I liked about the movie first. The first thing I did like was John Chu put a lot of G.I. Joe the elements from the G.I. Joe universe. There's a ton of them that he had put in the movie. I mean, for a guy who did the Justin Bieber movie before doing this one, I mean, I was wary that he would do a good job. But I heard some reports that he was a big G.I. Joe fan himself, and he did not disappoint the G.I. Joe fans out there. There was a lot of G.I. Joe elements. Let me start with the vehicles. I mean, he put a ton of G.I. Joe vehicles, G.I. Joe and Cobra vehicles there. I don't want to say too much, but for those of you who don't want to be spoiled, this is a spoiler alert. I will be saying a lot of stuff that might potentially be spoilers for the movie. So please just watch this review after you see the movie. But if you don't want to be spoiled, but there's a lot of vehicles, both from Cobra and G.I. Joe, that was like, oh my goodness, this guy knows G.I. Joe. I wish he could have put more, but let's talk about that later. But with what I saw in the movie, it was enough. Eye candy. It was amazing. Second thing I liked about the movie, there was a lot of character development. I mean, the first movie, let's not take anything too much away from Rise of Cobra. There was a lot of action in that movie, but very little character development. And the development for the characters weren't really canon for the G.I. Joe franchise. But for this movie, for Retaliation, John Chu did a good job in trying to keep to who the characters were, and there was a lot of storytelling with the characters. The Storm Shadow, we get to see his backstory. Snake Eyes, his relationship with Storm Shadow. You got Roadblock, Duke. Even this guy, there's not a lot of introspection for him, but you got an idea of who Firefly was. Cobra Commander was a minor character. They just revamped who he was and just put him on the corner. Zartan, that guy played a big role, and I thought personally the development of the characters for the movie made the movie interesting, made the characters more interesting than just the stereotypical plain vanilla character that had a lot of weapons. Third thing I like about the movie was the plot. The plot, it was simple. It was, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, G.I. Joe plots are always Cobra Commander is up to no good. He's out to take over the whole world, and only the Joes are the only team or unit that can stop him. I mean, that's a basic plot, and if you want to please the G.I. Joe fans, that's the kind of plot you put in a movie. And he did, and that's what John Chu did, and I'm not complaining too much. I mean, a lot of the critics are saying it's too shallow, but to me, that's classic G.I. Joe. That's the plot you get, and it was so easy to follow. I mean, The plot takes over from where we left off, G.I. Joe Retaliation, but there was a shedding of the old skin. I think, not including I mean not including so much of Duke and Destro and the Baroness and Ripcord was a way and Scarlet was a way for the producers to actually say, hey, we're shedding off the old skin. This is the new G.I. Joe. This is where we want to take off from now on, and that we are going we're going forward to another direction, to a better direction, and this is how we're going to do it without disrupting the whole continuity from Rise of Cobra into Retaliation. So I thought that was pretty good. I thought that was very ingenious, and I thought John Chu gave a lot of respect to what Rise of Cobra did, and actually just added more to it, and made it his own, and took G.I. Joe into a whole new direction. And I think this is the correct step to that direction. So the plot was great, and if you had no idea what G.I. Joe was, if you missed out on Rise of Cobra, and you just watched Retaliation, just for the sake of watching it, you're not gonna be lost. There were some flashbacks, there were some backstory, scenes that said a lot, enough for you to understand what went on in the first movie and whatnot, that you would not get lost in this whole entire movie. The fourth thing I'm going to say is, like any other critique would say, that the action scenes were just phenomenal. I mean, the martial arts was just amazing. I'm a big martial arts fan. I did martial arts when I was younger. I mean, I had read a report that Lee Byung-hun, Storm Shadow character, he did a scene with Snake Eyes, the whole fight scene with Snake Eyes, 20 plus times. I mean, the second unit director was a perfectionist, had him do it like 20 plus times. I mean, I would have passed out after doing the five times that kind of sequence. And hats off to Ray Park and Lee for just doing a tremendous job on that fight scene. All the ninjas, the jinx, all those that are repelling scenes was amazing. Action scenes with Roadblock, with Joe Colton. I mean, I don't even know a lot about Joe Colton, but I love the character, especially with Bruce Willis. Amazing scene, and again, John Jude stayed true to who the characters were. Roadblock had his guns. There were some discrepancies. We'll get to that in a little while. But Roadblock had his big guns. Flint having parkour. I don't know about that, but Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, very true to character. The Saboteur, Firefly, demolitions expert, was amazing. He tried to stay true to the G.I. Joe. And, I could say so much more about how the movie was so awesome and visually appealing and very true to G.I. Joe canon, but I could go on and on. This video review would last forever. So let's go to the things I did not like. And when I say did not like, I'm just nitpicking here. And looking on hindsight, if the producers actually went the other way to please people such as me, the movie would have sucked. And I say that because I think they did a good job in holding back and leaving room for the succeeding sequels. Let's hope so. And the first thing I was going to mention is I wish there were more characters. I wish they did not kill off the other characters. But again, as I said, there was just too many characters on the stage. And had they not gotten rid of certain characters, it would have been such a full house that it would have been confusing. People would not know who to focus on. And as it is, with the plot being as it is, the central characters were really just Roadblock as the main protagonist, Zartan as the president as the main antagonist. You get Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Lady J, and yeah, that's about it. Those five characters are the main characters. I mean, Lady J was pretty good. Firefly, Cobra Commander, Flint, Duke, everybody else were minor characters. And I go as far as saying that Roadblock and Zartan as the president of the United States were the two main characters fighting off against each other. And it was simple, very simple. Had they put more characters, it would have been very confusing. It would destroy the whole essence of the movie. The plot would have flawed. It would have been messy. So yeah, it sucks that there were not a lot of characters. But again, as I said, it was for the betterment of the movie. Second thing I did not like, it's not so much I did not like, it was just more of like, it worked for me, but I was like taken a little bit aback that of what had happened. Like for instance, Roadblock as a leader. Roadblock was never really quite the leader in the cartoons or in the comic books. I'm not sure. Maybe he had the potential to be a leader. Maybe this was an excuse for them to put The Rock in the lead role. Sure, all the leaders were dead. He's the one next in line. Okay, I bought it. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I wasn't complaining too much. The other thing I was going to mention was Roadblock was a ninja, a trained ninja. He trained with Snake Eyes. He was a martial artist. That for me, I think, was going a little bit too far. But to see The Rock doing a lot of martial arts sequences was amazing. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. But Roadblock doing a lot of martial arts, it was a little bit questionable. But you know, he's the lead character, so I'm not complaining too much. Another thing is the whole character of Storm Shadow being, spoiler alert, being framed up. Storm Shadow for me was a self-serving guy. And to me, sure, he became part of the Joes, but it was a conscious effort to really not go with the dark side. It was like Jedi versus the Sith. I mean, he joined the Joes because he had a debt to pay, or he was self. It was self-serving purpose. What the movie presented was he was really a good guy. He was just framed up, and he was framed, and he was really a good guy. He was misunderstood, and he should really be part of the Joes. And he became who he was because of Cobra or somebody from Cobra. I'm not gonna try and spoil it too much. So it was a little bit questionable, but I'm glad. Again, I'm glad they did it. It was a whole new dimension to Storm Shadow that I had not thought about, and I thought it was brilliant. So, with the things I did not like, it wasn't really so much. You know, I'm glad they were there. They were or not there because it really added to the benefit of the movie. And with all that hype about G.I. Joe, I mean, it did not fail to deliver. Retaliation was amazing. I mean, I've seen websites have articles like G.I. Joe Retaliation is officially awesome, and it truly is. If you're going to see this with kids that are non-teenagers, make sure you brief them on what G.I. Joe is a little bit, because there's a little bit, not a little, there's a lot of violence in this movie. And people are dying here, so you might want to think about bringing your kids to the movie. Having said that, with all the toys coming out and Hasbro targeting the kids, yeah, I'm gonna go back and flip flop on this one. It would be nice to go take your kids also to watch this movie. I don't know if your kids are smart enough to know that this is all not real, that they're all stunts, you know, and only the bad guys. I mean, it's good guys versus bad guys. I mean, as a parent, you know the boundaries on which movies to bring your kids to. So I leave it up to you. I I would wait till my kids are like 8 or 7. You know, anyone below 5 years old, maybe I can only show a few scenes, but not the entire movie. I mean, Alex is just turning 5. I would show snippets. I would not show the entire movie. Anyway, so it's really up to you. But again, it's an amazing, amazing movie. And with all that I've said, I would give this movie a 9 out of 10. Just because I'm a biased reviewer, I'm a G.I. Joe fan, and I was really rooting for this movie to really, really become so much of the G.I. Joe movie we all hoped for, and to really, really make up for that Rise of Cobra whole deal. I mean, I liked Rise of Cobra, but this one just really takes the cake. So, I'm running out of breath here. A great movie, guaranteed. You know, watch it in 3D. It's an amazing, amazing film. G.I. Joe Retaliation. Thanks for listening. Sorry it took forever to finish this review. Thanks for watching.